In this video, we'll be going over web filtering and configuring it. So what is web filtering? A lot of people get web filtering confused with DNS filtering, and it's not the same thing. DNS filtering, which we covered in part 4, does filtering purely on the domain name that you type in. Web filtering is deeper than that. It inspects the actual HTTPS traffic itself and not just the domain that you typed in. It looks at the URL path, the page category, and with SSL inspection turned on, it can actually see the content inside the encrypted session. DNS filtering can tell you, hey, this request is going to youtube.com and block or allow it at that domain category level. Web filtering can see that you're going to youtube.com, but then go a layer deeper and say, hey, this specific URL is categorized as streaming media, or this specific page might fall under, adult content or other category. So it has the ability to differentiate the content on different pages within the same website, whereas DNS filtering doesn't do that. So that's part of it, but the real reason you run web filtering on a business is purely for the sake of security. So how does a FortiGate know what category a page falls into? Well, it's asking FortiGuard just like DNS filtering is asking FortiGuard. DNS filtering will ask, hey, what category is this domain? Web filtering will ask, hey, what category is this exact URL and page? After SSL inspection has already decrypted the request. So FortiGuard is the same intelligence system that both of these layers are using. And there are 4 different actions that you can take with web filtering. You can allow it, you can monitor it, which is just allowing it through and logging it. You can block it, or you can send a warning to the user that the user can click past. So the part that people miss is that SSL inspection has to be turned on for web filtering to actually do its job. Otherwise, web filtering can actually dig deeper into the session, and it's basically at that point just doing what DNS filtering is doing, because it can't differentiate between different pages, which can only happen after the session has already been decrypted. So let's tie all this together, and let me give you an example. So picture a small business WordPress site that just got breached and is now quietly hosting a phishing page. So it might look something like this. The first layer is going to be DNS filtering, right? Even before you go to that website, DNS filtering will check the domain and say, oh, it's legitsite.com. It'll check it against FortiGuard. FortiGuard will say, hey, this has a clean history, clean reputation, and DNS filtering will allow it. So the next layer is web filtering. So with web filtering and SSL inspection turned on, it'll actually decrypt the page and ask FortiGuard, hey, tell me more about this specific URL, this specific page. And FortiGuard will come back and say, this page is phishing, or this page is malicious. So without that SSL inspection, you wouldn't be able to ask FortiGuard, because you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the different pages because they haven't been decrypted. So let's get into the configuration. And before we build our web filter profile, we're just going to do a backup real quick. Let's call this before web filter. Okay, and we're also going to take a backup. On the backup configuration file that you download, make sure you're masking the password so you don't have a full config file just sitting on your computer with a password to your Fortinet. Okay, so let's go into security profiles. We'll go into web filter. There's a couple default ones. We're going to create new and just call this standard web filter. Okay, the most important stuff here is going to be most likely already blocked. So that's, newly observed domain, newly registered domains, malicious websites, phishing, spam. All these should be blocked. Everything else, depending on your business requirements, you can just go in and you can, allow it, monitor it, or block, or warning. So there's a lot of stuff in here that you can go through, and you can pick what action you want to take against all these different categories. Just real quick, for your business, you do want to block all of these. It's just a liability. I mean, that's what I do. It's standard config for the clients that I work with. But yeah, a lot of this you just want to block, right? So everything else below is okay. These are just more advanced features that if you need them, you can kind of learn about them and configure them. But for the purpose of this, we're just gonna hit OK. Okay, so we have our web filter profile, and we're gonna go ahead and attach it to our security policy. So for your network, you're gonna be attaching it to your corporate to WAN, your guest to WAN, and your IoT to WAN. For my purpose, I'm going to be attaching it because I have a PC directly plugged into the Fortigate. I don't have a managed switch, so I'm going to be attaching my policy here, and we're going to be testing that shortly. So I turn on web filter, I select my profile, standard web filter. Now, before I hit OK, I want to show you what it looks like. So I have my PC over here. I'm going to show you, this is what the website looks like. This is a test website that and test categories that FortiGuard has published, and you can go to all these different categories. I'm going to put the link on the screen right there. So all the different categories that you block, you can actually test them with these test categories that FortiGuard published. And if you click on review the web filter categories, and you can see that there's all of these categories, pretty much all of them, that you can actually click on and you can test. So this is a test page that will be rated by FortiGuard web filtering as finance and banking. So if you block finance and banking, this page will show up as blocked. Okay, we're just going to test with this one because malicious websites is just blocked. Everybody should have it blocked. So now I'm going to hit OK here. And this might actually take a couple of minutes, but it should be blocked. So malicious, there's phishing, so we can open up these as well, newly registered. Right now they're all opening, so sometimes you have to give it a couple of minutes before it will actually block it. Let's try it in Edge real quick. So one thing I want to show you real quick is this. So you notice how in Chrome it's being allowed, but in Edge it's being blocked. See, even if we open up incognito in Chrome, it still gets blocked. But here, no matter what you do, you keep refreshing it. I've even tried to delete the cache here. Reload. Oh, there it goes. So you just have to delete the cache, I guess, a few times. But that's purely, it looks like a Chrome issue. So another thing you can do is you can go into log and report. You can go into system events. And you can go into, security events. And you can go into web filter right here. And you'll see that now it's getting populated, okay? And it'll tell you, hey, we just blocked this site. So this is where you can actually confirm if users are getting blocked properly. Or if somebody calls you up, one of your clients user calls you up and they're like, hey, I can't get to this website, you can just search for their IP, or you can search for their username if you have Active Directory tied into this. So that's the whole shebang on web filtering. In part 9, we're going to be going over IPsec remote VPNs, which are replacing SSL VPNs on the FortiGates.